Hey, 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 live streamers, you know the deal. Go ahead and drop where you're tuning in from in the comments so I officially know we are live. If you're catching this on replay, go ahead and drop that hashtag replay in the comments so we can get back to you with any questions that you may have. And be sure to network with other people that are tuning into this live stream. If they care about SEO optimization and you care about SEO optimization, that is some synergy there that you guys can come together on and help support each other. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, hello, my name is Tegan Bartos. I am founder and managing director of Jolt Your Career, a career consulting firm that helps ambitious professionals like yourself pivot, advance, or even rise in your career. I always like to start off my live streams celebrating client wins, but today I want to celebrate Jamar Jones for hosting his first ever business conference yesterday at the Pfizer Forum. That's why I look a little rough this morning, because I am tired. Yesterday at 9 a.m., he kicked off his first ever business conference with a concert, and it went until like 9 p.m. last night. It was action-packed with world-class speakers, absolutely phenomenal. If you have FOMO, feel it hard because you missed out on an incredible experience. So, Jamar, congratulations, and thank you so much again for having me as a recruitment and retention panelist. Now, to get into what you're here for today, I want to go ahead and welcome SEO expert William to the stage. Okay, so here's where the multitasking comes in, because let me switch this banner out now so we don't just see your chin. What's up? Good morning.
Hey, how are you doing? How's everyone going? How's everyone's day going?
All right, so tell us how your day is going. John from Virginia, Adrian from Baton Rouge. I could so use some of those like pastries. Oh gosh, what are they? The beignets? Those would be banging. Maureen from Chicago. What's up, girlfriend? Good morning to everyone tuning in, even those secret LinkedIn losers who hide their profile. Don't worry about it. So do I, because otherwise creepy people will message you saying, oh, I saw you looked at my profile and can I sell you this now? So, William, why don't you go ahead and just kind of share who you are, what your background is, and what made you decide to start advocating for job seekers on your LinkedIn profile? Because it's not very often that someone out of the hiring industry or workforce industry as a leader in their space will give their platform visibility, will give others visibility on their platform to their job search. So I'm dying to know how this all started for you.
Yeah, it's kind of a one of those things that you just fall into, really. So, a little background on me before I get into how I started doing my thing as a job seeker advocate here on LinkedIn. But so I've worked for ABB Marketing. It's a full digital marketing agency here in the U.S. We service a very specific clientele in the furniture, mattress, appliance, and electronics space. They're all independent retailers, so they're your local businesses supporting your local economies. And back in May, I just decided to finally make the jump and start posting every day on LinkedIn. It was just one of those things where I was like, I'm just gonna do it. It's kind of like my escape, aside from what I do day in, day out, having to deal with Google's algorithms and all the nonsense that that comes from that. But and it was just kind of this outlet for me to explore creatively, and to try and increase my network. Because in a lot of ways, I even posted about this. It was either yesterday or on Wednesday, that your network is your safety net. It's like an insurance policy, right? We've seen the layoffs that are happening. We know that job security is something that's kind of in question right now. And so for me, it's something that you need to be working on 6 months to a year before you actually need to leverage it. So for me, that's kind of what I decided to start doing. And it all started with when I got tagged in a post by somebody that I had met, who tagged me in a post from a guy named Zach. He had just lost his job. Was searching for a while, and he put up a post about him getting desperate. I'm sure a lot of people on LinkedIn can relate to that. And he went through his story, and somebody just tagged me in it and said, "Hey, Will, do you think you could help him out somehow?" And I messaged Zach and I was like, "Hey, look, I would repost your post, but that doesn't really do much. It won't get much engagement on my side. So how about we create a post for you, and I'll just create the post. I'll highlight you, and we'll see what happens from there." Um, and it just blew up. It blew up. It for me, I at the time probably had 3,000, 4,000 followers. And I was getting, 20,000 impressions and, a couple hundred engagements and comments, all supporting Zach and trying to help him get a job. And from there, it just kind of evolved into this person behind the profile campaign that I do for job seekers. And really, it's just something that I'm building my brand around, and kind of my personal mantra, or what I'm branding myself as, is just somebody who's helpful, somebody who's kind, and I'm here to help others because I know someday I may need help myself. And I'm just helping others in that understanding that eventually I'll probably need help myself, and I will have a huge network of people that know that I do the work, I put my money where my mouth is, and I help other people. Hey, it's time to help him out, and so that's really how I approach this whole thing. Maybe someday it'll evolve into something else, but for now, it's just me building my brand and my network and helping people out.
I love LinkedIn for this very reason, because good people help good people. Good people know good people help good people. When you unconditionally give to others, there's no expectation that you have to do anything in return for me right now. Of course, if I need something in the future, I would hope that, we built enough trust and
Mhm.
rapport to want to pour into one another moving forward. But like you said, it takes time to cultivate those genuine relationships, and putting your money where your mouth is at is a way to build that trust. And so for every single job seeker tuning in right now, we're going to discuss a couple of ways that you can do that for yourself to create that irresistible social proof that proves that not only you're someone that an organization would get massive value from, that you would be a cultural ad, but just in general, outside of wherever you work, like in real life, you're a good human being that others can count on. So getting back to the topic, SEO optimization for your job search. So SEO optimization is typically thought of when you're thinking about web pages, but it's also
Yeah.
really relevant to job seekers' LinkedIn profiles, because LinkedIn is based on three things: keywords, connections, and engagement. And so when it comes to finding those keywords that you need on your profile, there's a bit of an art and a science to it. And then when it comes to connections, Williams already stated some really innovative ways to find those genuine connections, but also keep that in mind. And then, like he said, he had, like 4,000 connections or followers, but then his post got over 20,000 impressions. So that's engagement. So all three of these pieces are really important when it comes into like LinkedIn's way of kind of hacking the system. When recruiters are using LinkedIn Recruiter to find candidates, they use Boolean searches. And so they find people based on like location, keywords, like maybe job titles or degree levels and things like that. So that's all part of like a job seeker's way to SEO optimize things. But what's really interesting is LinkedIn articles go on Google. I don't know exactly what it's called, Will, but basically, if you write an article on LinkedIn talking about your thought leadership or whatever you do at work or whatever the article might be, it pops up on a Google search. So instead of it being like your Facebook profile or like your DUI record in the newspaper, now
Right.
it's a LinkedIn publication. And so explain to us what your top tricks are from, because you're a professional copywriter. None of us are. Well, I am, but none of the rest of us watching
Right.
probably are. So how do new content creators come up with ways to write? Like, are there any tricks or warning things that you would recommend people take into consideration before they dive into this?
Yeah, for sure. So from a copywriting standpoint, you can only get better at writing if you do it. And not only should you write something, but you have to get that feedback and honest feedback from friends, family, people in your professional network, whomever you feel comfortable getting that feedback from. Because in reality, for me, my skills as a copywriter come after 8 9 years of having done this for
Yeah.
both professionally in academia in my personal life. Writing for me is a way that I can kind of express myself, even in like journaling and process my thoughts and my feelings. But then on the professional side, with writing articles and showing your expertise, there's a couple of things there, right? You've got to first, you've got to know the topics. It all comes back to intent. When I type something into Google, when I type something into LinkedIn, uh, what is the intent behind the words I'm putting in there? That's what in the SEO world we call search intent, right? And it all goes back to, okay, what kind of keywords are people going to put into into Google, or in our case, LinkedIn, to try and find somebody? Um, and that's where that translates back over to your profile, right? If you know that a recruiter is for SEO is going to be looking for these top 5 keywords, you can do that, and you can work those into your skills, into your job descriptions, the your headline, all those different places, right? The summary. You work in those top valuable keywords into your profile, and that will help you show up. On the article side, right? You can think of Google as a library, and Google wants to be the best library there is. And then LinkedIn wants to leverage Google to get more people to hop on LinkedIn. So as you start using the tools that LinkedIn starts to produce, like articles, now articles is like it's been around for a while. Just I don't think a lot of people leverage it like they should, including myself. I have one article up, and it's about something back in 2019 that Google pushed out, and I didn't really do anything after that. And that's
You
something
and
that,
me both. I got to get better at it too.
yeah. So, but all this to say, for job seekers, it's really important. What if, for example, the great question is, we all know transitioning teachers, it's a thing. There's a lot of them. That's hard, right? Transitioning in any career, whether you're a teacher or not, can be difficult. So how do we even start understanding what keywords that you need to have on your profile? Well, there's a couple of things that I've really liked that I've seen people suggest on LinkedIn. Is go find what you think is the job you want, and go find 5 10 a dozen of the job descriptions, and drop them into a word cloud generator, and you'll see patterns, right? All SEO is pattern recognition when you're talking about keyword research, and understand, okay, these are what supposedly the job, these companies are looking for. I need to work this into my profile and find ways to illustrate that, so that I can at least show up in the search. Now,
Yep.
Taking it another step, then you've got to think about, okay, resume. How do you work it into your resume? And I don't know much about ATS. However, I will say this: I know about algorithms, and the ATS is just another algorithm, right?
Yep.
It's all keyword based. So if you have those right keywords in your resume, that's step one. step 2 and 3, I always talk about the 3-second scan and the 30-second scan. As a hiring manager myself, for example, we had an SEO specialist position up in June, and we had 200 applicants apply over the
Woo!
weekend. Yeah.
Over a
So I don't
weekend?
have
Oh
over a
Lord.
weekend. It's a competitive space, especially for an entry level position, right?
Yep.
And so I have, call it 3 seconds to look at a resume and pass it on. If you send me a wall of words, I'm not looking at it. I don't have time. So white space, it's your friend. And then from there, after that, the 30-second scan is all about the human algorithm, right? Our brain being able to pick up on those keywords as well. Because I'd much rather interview somebody that I think is going to be good than trying to assess them in a uh, one sheet of paper that has been carefully cultivated.
Yeah.
That's not going to tell me much. It's going to tell me enough to get them on a phone call or on a Zoom call, but yeah, it all comes back to identifying, okay, what is the role that you want, and then doing your research to figure out what types of keywords these employers are looking for.
One of the resources that I like that LinkedIn has, it's called LinkedIn Career Explorer. And on LinkedIn Career Explorer, you can put in any job title and it'll give you the top 15 to 20 skills that are in the millions of job descriptions that have been posted with that title on LinkedIn. So it's a great resource for getting started. When it comes to writing an article on LinkedIn to get your thought leadership put out, so this is kind of like a backdoor of applying to a job that gets posted, and within the first weekend, over 200 applications. If you choose to write articles about what's going on in your industry, to answer Susan's question. So Susan asked, should I consider posting about someone else and helping them for their jobs and helping them in their job search strategy? So Susan, if you're in a position where you have an audience that will listen to you, that will take action, then yes, absolutely. It's a great way to give back to the community. Whereas if you're a job seeker yourself, then I would encourage, you can't pour from an empty cup. When you're on an airplane and they say, put your oxygen mask on first and then put the next person's oxygen mask on, there's a reason for that. So if you're a present job seeker, you need that stability to be able to really pour into others. So I would focus your time on creating articles and posts that focus on your thought leadership and industry expertise. So if you were to create a LinkedIn article, for example, when someone's Googling you to find out more research on you, then that's going to come up in a Google search. When someone's looking at your LinkedIn profile to see if they want to reach out to you for an opportunity proactively, then they're going to see what you've recently posted, what things are featured on your profile so they can quickly learn to like, know, and trust you. And that's how job offers are delivered. It like Will just said, it's really hard to get an accurate picture of someone from one page. But when you go above and beyond as a job seeker to put yourself out there, the sky is really the limit. And this strategy is not for everyone. Not everyone wants to become a content writer. Not everyone wants to talk about what they do, what their expertise is, and that's okay. There's other ways to navigate a job search. But those of you who do want to get your voice out there, see the power of becoming a thought leader, or sharing your expertise, or not even really a thought leader, just sharing tips and tricks or funny things about what you've learned on the job. Writing an article is a great way to do it. So here are my top tips. Cite your sources. Do not plagiarize on LinkedIn. If Will creates a post that you love and you want to recreate it for yourself, then give him credit where credit is due. Say, post inspired by Williams. Kudos to you for starting this trend. Plagiarism is a no-no, whether you are an employed copywriter or if you're just doing this to get some exposure. Another thing is be accessibility friendly. If you're using video content, then make sure that you're going to have the subtitles. If you're adding a banner photo, make sure it's royalty free. Make sure that you have alt text describing it. So that way, if someone is using technology to support their effort in reading it, that way it can be read. And make sure you have a good title. You know, like Will just said, you really need to use those keywords. You want to grab these people's attention. You want to make sure it's going to be a word that they're searching for. So as a resume writer, I may make an article, top 10 fonts for your resume in 2022. Well, if somebody's trying to figure out what font they should use because they heard you shouldn't use Times New Roman on a resume anymore, then that article is going to be boosted because I got engagement, because it has the right keywords. And then once they get into the article, it was helpful. So then they're more likely to engage on it or share in it. And it's that compounding effect. So once you create an article, you can then feature it. One of our mutual connections, Michael Cassidy, who's currently a job seeker, if anybody's out there hiring solution architects, he's a fantastic example of this. I'll link his profile in a second for if anybody who wants to see it. But he has a featured section where he not only posts articles on LinkedIn, he also submits his articles to industry related publications. So AWS in plain English, Better Programming, just all these different publications, and then can feature when that publication posts his article, then he can then backdoor it and feature it on LinkedIn to build up some of that credibility. And so what would you say as a copywriter to job seekers who are really trying to, maybe, like you said, maybe they're a teacher in transition and transitions are difficult. What are some other tips that you could give job seekers for really how to increase their credibility when in the job search?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it comes down to the intent behind the article. Are you trying to show expertise? Are you trying to transition to something technical like Michael is? In that case, he has to make sure that what he says is technically sound. So making sure all your I's are dotted, all your T's are crossed, because there's nothing like a misplaced word or a misspoken sentence to throw a hiring manager who does have the expertise and is looking for a specific skill set off, right? So
Yep.
if the hiring manager is reading your stuff, that means you're in consideration, right? Like if somebody has gotten to the point where you're either going to be interviewed and they're reading through, oh yeah, this person actually has like a thought leader library where they built all this content around it. They know what they're talking about, or they can see through you,
Yeah.
if you don't make sure that you're technically sound. Now, the others, other areas like on marketing, we get bored fast. We have short attention spans as marketers. Be a good storyteller. Work on learning how to tell stories, write good hooks. That's the thing. Honestly, in LinkedIn, when you're posting, that's the make or break. There's a few things that are make or break for a post. And one of those things is, do you have a good hook? Because if you don't have people hitting that see more button on mobile, or who aren't immediately engaged and like going to read the rest of your post and engage with it, then, it doesn't perform. And
Yeah.
so working hard to craft some of those different aspects of it, depending on which avenue you're trying to go, is key for that. And then the other thing is just realize it's going to take some time and practice. There's no shortcutting that other than just writing a lot and working through it, and making sure you have a core group of people that you trust to give you feedback, because feedback is pivotal for this kind of tactic. And you have to learn to have a thick skin when it comes to writing. My undergraduate was in journalism. In high school, I did journalism. And sometimes your editor's gonna quote unquote kill your babies, and that's just how it goes. And you have to be okay with it, because ultimately it makes you better.
Yeah.
And so it's something you got to step into, and it will help you in the job world as well. One-on-ones with your manager, ask for feedback. I had a mentor tell me, to ask the question, what is some feedback that you have that you don't think I'm ready for? And then
Oh,
brace yourself for the 1,000 gut punches you're gonna get. Um, and that's, something that I've started doing with people that I'm close to here at work in my professional life, and asking them like, "Hey, what what are things that you think I can improve on that you don't think I'm ready to hear?" And there's a lot of great insight that comes through it, and you can become a much better person. Is it comfortable? Absolutely not. But and a lot of times progress is not comfort, and that comes back to your copywriting as well. You just got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I am stealing that question because there is so much power in that. And again, this topic isn't for everybody. Every job seeker isn't going to be comfortable putting their knowledge out there. They want to keep their heads down, fly under the radars. We're not talking to people like that. Every employee isn't going to feel comfortable asking those uncomfortable questions, and that's fine.
Mhm.
We're speaking to a really specific audience here. And when you're writing, if you choose to write, you should be speaking to a really specific audience as well, because when you write, you begin to develop a writing style that gives insights into who you are, what you value, what your thought process is, and what your secret sauce is. And it becomes powerful. You learn so much about yourself. And yesterday when I was at that business conference, one of the panelists said, when there was a college professor who had two groups of students. One group was to take the perfect picture. The other group had to take 100 pictures. Now, the group of students who had to take 100 pictures all had better pictures than the student who had to take one perfect picture, because they got those reps in. They got better at it. Writing's the same way. And being on a job search, it sucks, but you learn a lot from it. And so when you
Mhm.
get that rejection and you persevere through it, you end up coming out on top, and you have so much more fun when you start to change your mindset. So, Will, let's go ahead and start answering some of these questions.
Awesome.
So we've got a question. How do you answer an interviewer that asks you to bring a book of business, but the job posting didn't mention it? Great question. When you are going on an interview, ask that recruiter, is there anything, can you share with me what the interview process is going to be like so I can properly prepare? That will help you identify if there's anything that you need to bring or get ready for. If you're in the interview and they all of a sudden say you need to have a book of business, if you don't have one already prepared, then so every industry has core marketing material that you need. Someone in the copywriting space, you need a portfolio of your writing samples. If you're in the tech space, like our friend Michael Cassidy, you need a portfolio of tech projects. If you're a resume writer, you need a portfolio of resume examples, and so on and so forth. So if you're in a position where you need certain collateral, have it ready. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And so proactively do these things. Will opened up saying the market's really unstable right now, and that's so true. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and it takes time to build these relationships, build this collateral. So make sure you start working on it sooner than later. Probably not the answer you wanted to hear, but that's the truth. So we've got Ivan who says, yes, pay it forward. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody here, if you're, tuning in because it's me, you're tuning in because it's William, you know that we're all about giving and being there for our people. We show up in incredibly vulnerable and authentic ways. That's not easy to do. So you got to grow that tough skin that Will was saying. Somebody asked if there's going to be a replay. Yes, anytime we do a LinkedIn Live, you can catch it on replay, just like viewing another post. You just click on the post later, press play, you can see the replay. I feel like there was one more question that I didn't want to miss. I love to write but prefer to speak. I need to know how this will transition to copywriting. You don't have to write. You can talk. Video content does really, really well. I would just recommend that you are accessibility friendly when it comes to having subtitles. And there's so many free apps that you can do that on. Canva, I really enjoy using to edit out my bloopers, because my mom got me this shirt and I wore it today because we were talking about words, but it says good moms say bad words. And sometimes if I'm writing video content and I screw up, I'll always go like blah, 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 F-bomb. I gotta cut that out, especially if you're posting on LinkedIn. Okay, my 2 cents. LinkedIn is not good experience on mobile, no matter how. 90% of LinkedIn users use the mobile app. And so you got to figure out how to create content that will perform well on LinkedIn mobile.
I only use LinkedIn on my mobile phone. Just so
There
you
you
guys know.
go. I mean, yeah. Okay, here's another question. Trevor, where is a good source to learn how to write good story? Oh, I'm going to let you take it away, Will.
That's a great question. So I would say the best way to become a good storyteller is to read good stories, right? Understand there are books out there, and I don't read books about copywriting or content writing. Most of mine comes from just reading content that I like. And if there's something that I really am engaged with, it's something that I'll take note of, like, okay, how did they do this to keep me engaged with the post? And, here on LinkedIn, right, there's plenty of people posting content. Just make a mental note. What resonates really well with me? How did they construct the post? How did they build this post to get me to do XYZ? To hit the see more button, then engage or leave a comment. Was it the hook, that got me to read the whole thing? Was it the picture or the video? And then, maybe the questions and the call to actions that they include that got you to actually write something. It takes time. And I would say the best way to learn about how to do it is to read, and then to just go out and practice and try. And you're going to, and realize you may have times where you write something and you're like, this is going to be bomb. This is going to go viral, whatever. And it flops. It just flops. And it doesn't mean it was bad writing necessarily. There's a million other things that could have been, but there's also the possibility that like, it just wasn't that good. And it sucks to hear that, but it happens to everyone. It happens to everyone. And so while you're starting, find the people that you trust. I'll keep going back to that. Find the people that you trust, that they will be honest with you. Because you don't want opinions from haters. They're just going to say negative things regardless. Find people you trust that are close to you, that will give you honest feedback and just say, hey, look, it just wasn't that good. And then you can ask them why. And they'll say, well, it was a little boring, or you had used big words, or whatever it was, right? And then you can go back and you can note and you can make changes and you can work through that process. The other way is, if you don't have people, you can just start throwing stuff out into the ethersphere, right? LinkedIn will be your editor. You won't get feedback other than how many likes and impressions and all that stuff. But if you look at the analytics, you can start to see the cream rise to the top. With that, I will just say, content writing is a flywheel. You have to be consistent. You can't get discouraged at the very beginning, because it's just like investing. It's compounding interest, and you have to put in a bunch of stuff first. And then eventually you'll see, in 3 months, you'll start to see like, oh, I used to get 500 impressions and I thought I was cool. Now I'm getting 5,000 impressions, and that's even cooler. And it just doesn't happen overnight. And so that's the other part, is you got to be consistent. You got to be committed. And it's just something that you've got to do, because if you try and think that it's going to happen overnight, it's just not going to happen, unfortunately.
Yep. Look at all of the LinkedIn content creator influencers. All of them have a different style. And so that's part of it too. But what they all have is a hook in the beginning to get that person to press see more, and a call to action at the end to encourage people to take action, to leave a comment, to add on to what they were talking about, to join a workshop or whatever it may be. And so really nailing the hook and the call to action is a great place to start. So I just realized what time it is, and Will, I want to be respectful of your day off. So let's do one more audience question, and then we can wrap up. So this person said, oh, nope. This person said, is there automation for responding to comments? And I'm just gonna be brutal here. Oops, sorry. The only way to build genuine connections is by being genuine. No amount of automation is going to be able to write what you would have wrote. And writing from your heart is so much more powerful than anything else, because that's going to build what really matters. It's not impressions that matters. It's what happens behind the scenes. And
Absolutely.
So when someone comments on one of my posts and I just say, oh, great insights, or thanks for sharing, they may feel like that may be automated, or maybe it was actually, I don't use automation. So it's actually going to be either being really busy, but wanting them to know that I saw their comment, or I just didn't have much else to add, or they did a mic drop and there isn't anything else to add. I'm just so grateful that they added it. So I shared that. But take your DM, take your comments, and then bring it into the DMs. Bring it into real life on coffee chats. Automation on LinkedIn is forbidden. You can get completely kicked off the platform. So I do not recommend it at all. I know a lot of social marketing firms, push it all day, encourage it. But it's not going to build you the type of brand that you want. And it's definitely not going to get you the type of revenue that you want. Because as John just pointed out, it's all about building relationships. And John, William, you are fantastic at that. So I want to just leave off by asking you, as a marketing leader, what is your advice to job seekers for reaching out to leaders on this platform to gain insights either about the industry, about guidance on maybe wanting to make a pivot, maybe even about opportunities at your organization?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So realize not everyone's going to get back to you. Feel free to message people. I would say kind of take a shotgun approach, right? Where you need to not do copy and pasting responses to a bunch of different people, but write genuine. You can have templates, but write genuine messages to these leaders, asking them for whether it's 15 minutes or to just chat in your DMs about it. I have a couple of questions. And realize that, let's say you send out 100 messages, and let's say 50, or maybe not even 50, let's go 100 messages, and you get 10 that will respond. At that point, you have 10 people that if you cultivate that relationship with them, you now have 10 mentors, right? You have 10 mentors. And so even if it's a 10%, and let's say maybe only one of those is willing to hop on a coffee chat or whatever, it's still worth it, because as you do that every week, as you do that, every month, you start to build this group. I always talk about community, because really LinkedIn is a community. It's, if you do it right, it's not just a network, it's a community. And there is a difference between that, right? Networking is that stiff, cold, hi, I'm Will Glade. I'm a director of SEO at AVB Marketing. Nice to meet you. Whereas a community is like, hey, how are you going? I share pictures with my dog to people, my kid, whatever, right? And I get to know them. I have jokes with people here on LinkedIn inside my community. And so that's the difference. The biggest thing I would say is make sure you put in the time to make it genuine, realize not everyone's going to get back to you. And if they don't get back to you immediately, don't feel sad about it. If they give you honest feedback, accept it. I've had
Yep.
people ask me for honest feedback and I give it to them and they are combative. If that happens, I'm either going to ignore you, or if you continue to be combative, I will block you. I don't have time out of like, there's plenty of people who are appreciative out there and need my help. I don't have time for people that are going to ask me for help and then just completely fight me on my opinion. And I realize I'm one guy. I'm a dude with a phone. I, have been posting for 4 months now and I'm building this following. So I get it. Like, who am I to give you? It's just my opinion.
But if they
You can take it or
asked,
leave
they
it.
opened up that door.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you come back at me, and so I've had both job seekers and people in general, do that. And it's just, for me, it's just not worth my time because
Yeah.
everyone has the limited time resource. So reach out to people, connect with them. If you can, hop on a coffee chat with them, just informal, you can call them informational interviews, right? And you can just ask them. And I would say most good people, they'll find 30 minutes to do that for you because they're good people. And that's who you want in your community.
And if all of this sounds completely overwhelming to you, I am hosting tomorrow actually an advanced job seeker workshop. So I call it the LinkedIn VIP Masterclass. It's $27. I hate doing any type of salesy stuff on my LinkedIn lives because this is not what this is. This is just to genuinely meet good people, share a message. But I see so many of the comments of you all feeling uncomfortable doing this. So if you want to gain some confidence in doing all of the things that we're talking about today, go ahead and join me tomorrow. I've got multiple fill in the blank scripts that work, connection requests that actually get accepted. We're going over, it's literally 2 hours. It is an intensive training on how to feel more confident on LinkedIn, different tips and tricks that actually work. Because like Will just said, so many people get combative or send, these copy and pasted generic responses that never get accepted. And you waste so much time. And when we're on a job search, you don't have time to waste. You need to quickly get hired at a company that aligns with your value, making the type of income that matches the value you bring to that organization. And we ain't got time to waste. So I'll drop that in the comments, or you can head on over to my website if you want to join. You get lifetime access to all of my LinkedIn resources. It's a really fun event. And then next Friday, I'm going to be bringing on Ashley Garcia to talk about how to stop settling in your career. And so these lives are only going to continue picking up on topics you want to talk about, which a couple of you shared in the chat. Some of those things are already that you're dealing with. So I can't wait to see you next Friday for the live with Ashley. And Will, thank you so much for joining me today. All of your insights, people are beyond blown away with. I know that you're growing your network and open to help supporting. And so what is the best way for the over 60 people who joined this live and unlimited people who are going to be catching it on replay since, we're in the middle of lunch? How do you want these people to reach out to you, connect with you? What's the best way to get access to you?
I would just say send me a request on LinkedIn. I accept 99.9% of requests, and just drop a note like, hey, I heard you, on the live stream with Tegan. It was great. I'd love to connect. And then from there, I've got a lot of people in my DMs. So realize I may not get back to you immediately, but I'll get back to you. Feel free to also engage with my content. If you search the hashtag person behind the profile, you'll see all my content. I try to post daily. It doesn't happen because it's a lot. And so for those posts anyways. And so, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always on LinkedIn, and I'm excited to connect with all of you.
Love it. All right, guys, we will see you soon.